My parents insisted that my college fund was gone. "We lost everything, sweetheart," they said. But I overheard them bragging to my brother about how he was using my tuition money to support his fully funded startup. They had no idea I had already moved all my assets. That's when the chaos began. My name is Natalie, and I'm 19 years old. I always believed my parents loved me and my brother equally. I was never the problem child, never caused trouble, and always did well in school. My brother Aaron was more of the rebel, charming, ambitious, but reckless. Still, I thought our family was solid beneath all the chaos. That belief shattered just before college. I had worked hard throughout high school with a single goal: to get into Northwestern. And I did, full acceptance, but not a full scholarship. I still had to cover housing, books, and meal plans. No problem, though. My grandparents had set up a college fund for me when I was born, and my parents always assured me it was secure and waiting for me. So, imagine my confusion when I sat at the kitchen table, acceptance letter in hand, and my mother simply looked away. Dad cleared his throat and sighed heavily, as if I had asked for something impossible. "Natalie, sweetheart, the fund is gone. We lost everything in the market crash. We didn't want to worry you before exams, so we didn't say anything." I stared at them, feeling numb. The way my mom nodded, feigning sympathy, made my stomach churn. I asked where the money went and why they hadn't told me what I was supposed to do now. They just kept repeating the same lines. "We'll figure something out. Maybe community college for a year. Scholarships, loans." I locked myself in my room and cried all night. Every plan I had built was now shattered at my feet, all because of a crash I couldn't control and parents who made choices I never saw coming. The next morning, I started emailing every scholarship board and grant program I could find. I took extra shifts at the bookstore and began selling old clothes online. I was determined not to give up, but deep down, something felt off. My parents still seemed comfortable. They weren't worried or making sacrifices. My dad still played golf every Sunday, and my mom continued her spa days. Aaron had just dropped out of college and was suddenly launching a business. A week later, I discovered everything. It was late at night, and I couldn't sleep, so I came downstairs for some water. I heard voices in the backyard: my dad, my mom, and my brother. I paused, hidden behind the curtain by the sliding door, and listened. They were laughing. My mom said, "That startup better take off, Aaron. We drained Natalie's fund for this. She'll survive. That girl always lands on her feet." My dad chimed in. "It was the only way to give you a head start, son. Just don't blow it. We can't exactly ask her for it back." I stood frozen, every word cutting through me. They hadn't lost anything. They had stolen it. They gave my future away like it was spare change, all for my brother's half-baked idea about customizable meal kits for dogs. I didn't cry or make a sound. I just turned around, went back upstairs, and locked my door. That night, something inside me snapped. All the obedience, respect, and quiet gratitude I had for them withered. I wasn't going to confront them, not yet. I had something better planned. What they didn't know was that the college fund wasn't the only thing my grandparents set up for me. My grandfather, a sharp man who never trusted anyone with money, especially my dad, had opened a separate custodial investment account in my name. It had been transferred to my control when I turned 18. He told me about it during one of our weekend chess games and made me promise never to tell anyone, not even my parents. I hadn't touched it because I didn't think I needed to. But that night, I opened the app, transferred the entire balance into a high-yield savings account at a different bank, and set up alerts for any inquiries or attempts to access it. The next day, I visited the bank and added a verbal passcode just in case. For the next few weeks, I acted normal. I kept working, kept applying for scholarships, and smiled through gritted teeth every time my mom suggested online courses instead of living in a dorm. Meanwhile, I did my research. Aaron's startup was registered under his name, but the initial funding had come from a joint account my parents managed for me, one they were still technically co-owners of. Now that I was legally an adult, I could request a full account audit and freeze it. I filed for that quietly, and within days, their access was revoked. My dad was furious. He stormed into my room one evening, waving papers and demanding to know what I had done. I just looked up from my laptop and said, "I moved my money. The one Grandpa gave me. You know, the one you didn't know about." His face turned red, then pale. "You little, try me," I said calmly. "Try to touch anything that has my name on it again, and I'll report everything you did to the bank. And to Grandpa, while we're at it." That shut him up, but I wasn't finished. A week before I was set to leave for college, Aaron posted a big update on social media. Some investor had taken an interest in his business. He was flaunting champagne glasses, writing about legacy, family, and dreams. In the comments, my mom gushed like it was the second coming of Steve Jobs. I screenshotted everything. Every brag, every post, every public comment mentioning funding, dreams, and the sacrifices the family made. I forwarded them to my grandfather with a short note. "Thought you should know where your hard-earned money went." It took him less than a day to call me. He was furious, more than I'd ever heard him, and cold, the kind of cold that warned of consequences. I don't know what happened between him and my parents, but I knew he made calls. The next time I saw my dad, he looked like someone had died. My mom didn't speak to me for days. Aaron deleted his posts and went suspiciously quiet. I still didn't say anything. I let them squirm. Then came move-in day. They tried to come with me. My mom showed up in a dress and heels like she was going to brunch, acting like nothing had happened. My dad gave a big fake speech about how proud they were and how strong I'd been. I cut him off. "No, you don't get to come with me. You don't get to decorate my dorm or meet my roommate. You gave away my future and laughed about it. You lied to my face." They were stunned. My mom tried to cry, but I didn't care. I turned to Aaron, who had the nerve to look guilty. "I hope your dog food app crashes and burns. But hey, at least you got a good start, right?" Then I got into the car with my best friend, who had driven an hour just to help me move. I didn't look back. Now I'm here on campus, fully funded by scholarships, savings, and a grandfather who now refuses to speak to his own son. I've cut contact with my parents and Aaron, blocking them on everything. My life is quieter but cleaner, and for once, it's mine. It's been 3 months since I moved out. College is everything I dreamed it would be. Hectic, freeing, and full of opportunity. I buried myself in studies and new friendships. But a part of me remained on edge. There was a storm coming, and I could feel it inching closer with every passing day. Then one night in early October, it hit. I got a call from my grandfather. He sounded colder than usual, like the edge in his voice had turned to steel. He told me he had just come from a lawyer's office. Apparently, my parents had tried to claim hardship damages, saying I had cut them off from assets they were entitled to as co-guardians of the fund. But they didn't realize something crucial. My grandfather wasn't just angry. He was deliberate. He had quietly revised his estate, frozen all remaining shared accounts, and launched a formal investigation into the original college fund, specifically how it had been accessed and spent without consent. Since my parents had been co-signers but not sole owners, and since Aaron had directly benefited, it was categorized as misappropriation of educational funds. In other words, fraud. They had messed with the wrong old man. From what my grandfather told me, investigators uncovered email threads between my parents and Aaron, showing that they had knowingly siphoned the money meant for my education to fund a private LLC startup that had no business history, no clients, and no legal grounds to use those funds. Their justification? Family trust. That trust evaporated the moment my grandfather handed everything to the lawyers. But what made it worse? Aaron was crashing fast. His idea was weak to begin with, but now that investors saw his family entangled in financial disputes and potential legal action, they jumped ship. The startup tanked. His business account was frozen. His lease on the office space was revoked. I saw him online trying to save face, talking about pivoting and taking a break to restructure. But the truth was he was broke. The golden boy of the family had burned every bridge in sight, including his own. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was my mom. She didn't start with an apology. Of course, she didn't. "Natalie, honey, we need to talk. There's been a misunderstanding." Grandpa is overreacting, and we just need to sit down. All of us. I hung up. She called again, and I ignored it. Then she texted, "We're going to lose the house. Do you understand? Your father might be charged. Aaron is devastated. Please don't let this tear our family apart." That line made me laugh out loud. Tear our family apart. That happened the moment they chose my brother over me. The moment they lied to my face, watched me cry, and did nothing. The moment they gambled my future like it was a poker chip they could cash in for Aaron's fantasy. Still, I wasn't cruel. I didn't want them homeless. But I also wasn't their savior. So I replied with the only sentence I could muster. "You broke it. You live with it." The silence after that was blissful. A few days later, I got an email from Aaron. It was long, rambling, and filled with half-hearted apologies. He claimed he didn't know the money was stolen, that he thought it was from a family fund, and that he was misled. Maybe some of it was true, but what I remembered was the sound of their laughter the night they tossed my future away. He ended the message with something pathetic. "If there's any way you can talk to Grandpa, or maybe just help us out a little, I'll pay you back one day. I promise." I didn't respond, but I did forward the email to my grandfather just to ensure he had a full picture of the desperation festering behind their polite public faces. Weeks passed. I focused on classes, joined 2 clubs, and even started writing again, something I had stopped doing when everything went wrong. It was like healing through slow erosion. Bits of bitterness chipped away every time I succeeded without them. But the real moment of peace came during Thanksgiving break. I visited my grandfather, just him and me in his modest home filled with old books and the smell of cinnamon tea. We didn't talk about my parents much, only in passing. He handed me a folder with some legal documents, trust fund information, the finalized estate plans, and a letter. It was from him, a handwritten note that simply said, "You always had the strength." They just couldn't see it. But I did. I cried reading that, not because I needed his money, but because someone saw me. Someone finally acknowledged that I wasn't invisible or disposable. I learned a lot in those months about betrayal, family, boundaries, and self-worth. I stopped trying to fix what was never mine to repair. I stopped waiting for the apology that would never come. And most importantly, I stopped seeing myself as a victim. I wasn't a girl who lost her college fund. I was a woman who reclaimed her future. As for my parents, from what I've heard through the grapevine, they're struggling. The IRS is involved now. Turns out when you funnel money out of a minor's educational account without disclosure, it raises all kinds of red flags. My dad's job is in jeopardy. My mom tried to start a blog about parenting but deleted it after being trolled. Aaron moved back in with them. No more sleek office or launch parties, just a folding desk in his old room and a pile of debts he can't pay off. And me? I'm thriving. I landed a part-time internship with a publishing house. I'm writing stories again. I'm finally building a life that doesn't depend on anyone's approval but my own. They may have stolen from me once, but they'll never get the chance again.